Hello, friends. Welcome to my story nights. The first story tonight is entitled The Starlit Meadow. Once upon a time, in a small village nestled between rolling hills, there existed a place of magic and wonder known as the Starlit Meadow. This meadow was unlike any other in the world, for it came alive only under the shimmering canvas of the starry night sky. The village, named Havenbrook, was a tranquil and close-knit community. Its inhabitants were simple folk who appreciated the beauty of nature and the serenity of their surroundings. They often spoke of the meadow's enchantment, a place where dreams and reality intertwined, where the boundaries between the earthly and the ethereal were blurred. In Havenbrook, it was a well-kept secret that the meadow revealed its true splendor only at midnight. Most villagers would retire to their cozy homes long before the clock struck 12, but a few adventurous souls, drawn by the allure of the starlit meadow, dared to venture forth into the inky darkness. Among these brave souls was a young woman named Elara. She had always been captivated by the stories of the meadow told by her grandmother, stories of whispered secrets and the music of the night. Elara's grandmother had passed away when she was just a child, but her words had etched themselves into Elara's heart, filling her with a longing to experience the meadow's magic for herself. On a warm summer night, when the stars shone brighter than ever, Elara decided to embark on her journey to the meadow. She donned a simple white dress, her grandmother's old shawl, and a pair of worn-out boots, with a lantern in one hand and a sense of wonder in her heart. She slipped out of her cottage and followed the winding path that led to the meadow. The journey was filled with the sounds of the night, the chirping of crickets, the rustling of leaves, and the gentle hush of the breeze. As Elara approached the meadow, the darkness seemed to deepen, and the stars above shone with an otherworldly brilliance. Finally, she stepped into the meadow and gasped in awe. The meadow was bathed in a soft, silver light that seemed to emanate from the very ground beneath her feet. The grass, normally green by day, now glowed with an enchanting luminescence. It was as if the stars themselves had descended to paint the meadow with their radiance. Elara set her lantern down and lay in the cool, star-kissed grass. She closed her eyes and listened intently, just as her grandmother had described. At first, all she heard was the gentle rustling of leaves and the distant murmur of the night creatures. But then, as if carried on a whispering breeze, she heard something more, the faintest of voices. The voices seemed to come from all around her, from the very air itself. They spoke in a language that Elara couldn't quite understand, yet their tone was soothing, like the comforting words of an old friend. She felt as if the meadow was sharing its secrets with her, revealing the mysteries of the universe. Time seemed to stand still in the starlit meadow. Elara lost track of hours as she lay there, immersed in the beauty and wonder of the night. She saw shooting stars streaking across the sky, leaving trails of stardust in their wake. Fireflies danced among the flowers, their gentle glow adding to the meadow's enchantment. As the night wore on, Elara's thoughts drifted to her grandmother and the stories she had told. She felt a deep connection to her ancestor, as if they were sharing this magical moment across the boundaries of time. It was then that Elara heard a familiar melody, a hauntingly beautiful tune that seemed to come from the very heart of the meadow. She rose to her feet and followed the ethereal music. It led her deeper into the meadow, where she discovered a small grove of ancient trees. In the center of the grove stood a figure, bathed in the starlight. It was a woman, her hair silver as the moon and her eyes sparkling like the night sky. The woman held a delicate silver flute to her lips, and as she played, the meadow itself seemed to respond. Flowers bloomed at her feet, and the grass swayed in time with the music. Elara watched in wonder as the woman played on, the melody wrapping around her like a warm embrace. Unable to resist, Elara approached the musician and asked, "Who are you? What is this place?" The woman smiled, her eyes filled with ancient wisdom. "I am Althea, the guardian of the starlit meadow. This place exists to connect the hearts of those who seek solace and wonder in the beauty of the night. It is a sanctuary for dreamers and those who long to touch the stars." Alara felt a rush of emotion. She realized that her grandmother's stories had been more than just tales. They had been a legacy, a gift that had led her to this magical encounter. She sat down beside Althea, and together they played the haunting melody, their music blending with the symphony of the meadow. As the first light of dawn began to paint the eastern sky, Alara knew that her time in the Starlit Meadow was coming to an end. She felt a deep sense of gratitude for the experience, for the connection she had forged with her grandmother's memories, and with Althea, the guardian of the meadow. With a heavy heart, she stood and said her farewells. Althea nodded, her eyes filled with understanding. Remember, dear one, the meadow is always here, waiting for those who seek its magic. It lives on in your heart and in the stories you will tell. Alara retraced her steps through the meadow, her heart full of wonder and joy. As she left the meadow and made her way back to Havenbrook, she knew that she had been forever changed by the Starlit Meadow and the mystical encounter she had experienced there. From that night on, Alara became the keeper of the meadow's secrets, just as her grandmother had been before her. She shared her own stories of the meadow with the villagers, inspiring them to venture forth and discover the magic that existed in the world around. And so the Starlit Meadow continued to weave its enchantment, drawing dreamers and wanderers from all walks of life. It remained a place where the boundaries between dreams and reality blurred, where the stars whispered their secrets, and where the beauty of the night lived on in the hearts of those who sought its solace and wonder. The end. Welcome, dear friends. The next story is entitled The Forgotten Bookstore. In the heart of a bustling city, amid the noise of traffic and the hurried footsteps of pedestrians, there stood a forgotten bookstore. The city had grown and changed around it, but the bookstore remained unchanged, a timeless sanctuary of stories and dreams. The Forgotten Bookstore, as it was aptly named, was a place of wonder and mystery. Its sign was faded, its windows dusty, and its door creaked with age. Few people paid it any attention, for there were sleek, modern bookstores nearby, filled with the latest bestsellers and shiny gadgets. But for those who knew where to look, the Forgotten Bookstore held a treasure beyond compare. One sunny afternoon, when the city seemed particularly chaotic, a young woman named Clara stumbled upon the bookstore. Clara had always been drawn to the written word and had a deep love for books. As she pushed open the door and entered the dimly lit interior, she felt as if she had stepped into another world. The shelves of the Forgotten Bookstore were lined with books of all shapes and sizes. Some were old and weathered, with cracked spines and yellowed pages, while others appeared pristine, as if they had just been published. There were novels, poetry collections, history books, and more, each one promising a journey to a different time or place. The air inside the bookstore was filled with the scent of old paper and ink, a fragrance that sent shivers of delight down Clara's spine. She wandered through the narrow aisles, her fingers lightly brushing the spines of the books as she read their titles: The Secret Garden, The Count of Monte Cristo, Alice's Adventures in Wonderland. The classics were all there, waiting to be rediscovered. But as Clara ventured deeper into the store, she noticed something unusual. There was a section at the back, hidden behind a dusty curtain, that contained books with no titles on their spines. Curiosity piqued, she reached out and pulled one of these mysterious books from the shelf. Its cover was plain brown leather, and its pages were unmarked. Clara flipped open the book, and to her astonishment, words began to appear on the blank pages as if written by an invisible hand. The story that unfolded before her eyes was unlike anything she had ever read. It was a tale of a young girl who discovered a hidden world within the pages of a magical book, a world filled with talking animals, enchanted forests, and endless adventures. As Clara read, she lost track of time. It was as if the bookstore itself had come to life, immersing her in the story. When she finally looked up from the book, she realized that the sun had set, and the forgotten bookstore was bathed in the soft glow of lamplight. The bookstore's proprietor, an elderly man with kind eyes and a knowing smile, approached Clara. "I see you found one of our special books," he said. "They have a way of finding the readers who need them the most." Clara was filled with wonder and curiosity. "Who are you? And how does this bookstore exist in such a hidden corner of the city?" The old man chuckled. "I am simply the guardian of this place, and the forgotten bookstore exists beyond the boundaries of time and space. It appears to those who are in need of its magic, and it holds within its walls stories that have been long forgotten or have yet to be written." Clara felt a profound sense of gratitude and awe. She continued to explore the forgotten bookstore, discovering more books that revealed their stories to her. Each book was a journey into a different world, a chance to experience the lives and adventures of countless characters. Over the weeks and months that followed, Clara visited the bookstore regularly. She became friends with the old man who shared stories of his own adventures in books and the many readers he had met over the years. She also met other visitors to the bookstore, each with their own unique stories to tell. One day, as Clara was browsing the shelves, she noticed a book that was different from the others. It had a title on its spine, and its cover was adorned with intricate illustrations. The title read, "The Story of Clara." With trembling hands, she pulled the book from the shelf and opened it. The pages were filled with her own life story, from her childhood adventures in the countryside to her dreams and aspirations. It was as if the bookstore had captured her essence and woven it into a tale of its own. Tears welled up in Clara's eyes as she read about her own life. She realized that the forgotten bookstore had not only given her the gift of countless stories, but had also recognized the story within her. It was a reminder that each person's life was a unique and beautiful narrative waiting to be written. As the years passed, Clara continued to visit the bookstore, sharing her own stories and experiences with the old man and the other visitors. The bookstore had a way of bringing people together, creating a sense of community among those who had discovered its hidden treasures. And so the forgotten bookstore remained a timeless sanctuary in the heart of the ever-changing city, a place where stories came to life, where dreams were born, and where the love of books was celebrated. It stood as a reminder that sometimes, in the most unexpected places, one could find magic, wonder, and a world of stories waiting to be explored. The end. Tonight's story is entitled The Moonlit Serenade. In a coastal town named Marigold Cove, where the salty sea breeze mingled with the fragrance of blooming flowers, there lived a young woman named Serafina. She was known throughout the town for her ethereal beauty and her voice, which possessed a hauntingly sweet quality that could capture the heart of anyone who heard it. But despite her charm, Serafina was a creature of solitude. She preferred the company of the moon and the sea to that of her fellow townsfolk. Marigold Cove was a place of simple pleasures and a close-knit community. Its residents cherished the peaceful nights when the moon would cast its silvery glow upon the tranquil waters. It was on one such moonlit night that Serafina first heard the distant strains of music floating on the sea breeze. Drawn by the enchanting melody, she followed the sound along the winding path that led to the edge of the cliffs overlooking the sea. There, beneath the luminous moon, she saw a figure standing on the rocky shore. It was a young man with raven black hair, his fingers caressing the strings of a violin. As Serafina approached, the musician turned to her with a warm smile. His eyes, as deep and mysterious as the ocean itself, held a hint of recognition. "I've been waiting for you," he said, his voice like a gentle wave lapping at the shore. Serafina was captivated by his presence and the music he created. She sat down on a weathered rock, and he continued to play, the notes of his violin weaving a tapestry of emotions that tugged at her heart. The melody was both melancholic and hopeful, a reflection of the moon's gentle glow on the water. They spent that night together on the cliffs, the moon as their witness and the sea as their companion. The musician introduced himself as Lysander, and Serafina shared her name in return. As the hours passed, they spoke of their dreams, their love for the sea, and the profound connection they felt to the moon. Lysander confided in Serafina that he had spent his life searching for someone who could truly appreciate his music, someone who could hear the stories he told through his violin. Serafina, in turn, revealed her longing for a connection that transcended the ordinary, a love that could match the beauty of the moonlit nights. From that night on, Serafina and Lysander became inseparable. They would meet on the cliffs every moonlit evening, and Lysander's violin would serenade the night, filling Marigold Cove with its haunting beauty. The townsfolk, too, began to notice the enchanting music and wondered about the mysterious musician who had stolen Serafina's heart. But as their love blossomed, a shadow cast itself over their happiness. Serafina's parents, concerned for their daughter's future, arranged a marriage for her with a wealthy suitor from a neighboring town. Serafina was torn between her duty to her family and her deepening love for Lysander. One moonlit night, as Serafina and Lysander stood together on the cliffs, she shared the news of her arranged marriage, tears glistening in her eyes. Lysander's heart ached at the thought of losing her, but he knew that he could not stand in the way of her family's wishes. "Promise me this," Serafina said, her voice quivering. "Promise that no matter where we are, no matter the circumstances, you will continue to play your music under the moon, and I will listen to it from afar. Our love may be separated by distance, but the moon and your music will always connect us." Lysander nodded, tears in his own eyes. "I promise, my love. I will play for you under the moon, and you will hear my serenade in your heart no matter where you are." With heavy hearts, they kissed beneath the moonlight, their love sealed by a promise that transcended time and distance. Serafina returned home, her soul torn between duty and love, while Lysander remained by the sea, his music now carrying the weight of their separation. Years passed, and Serafina's life took her far from Marigold Cove. She married her wealthy suitor and moved to a distant city, where the moon's gentle glow was replaced by the harsh glare of artificial lights. But every night she would step onto her balcony and gaze at the moon, knowing that Lysander was out there somewhere, playing his violin under the same moonlight. Lysander, too, kept his promise. He continued to play his music by the sea, each note infused with the love he felt for Serafina. The townsfolk of Marigold Cove came to appreciate his nightly serenades, and they would often gather on the cliffs to listen, feeling the deep emotion in his music even though they did not know its true source. As the years went by, the love between Serafina and Lysander endured, sustained by the moonlit serenades that bridged the distance between them. They exchanged letters filled with words of longing and devotion, and each letter was sealed with a sprig of marigold, the flower that had symbolized their love since their first meeting. One fateful night, as Serafina stood on her balcony gazing at the moon, she felt a familiar melody in the air. It was Lysander's violin, as hauntingly beautiful as ever. The music reached across the miles that separated them, and Serafina closed her eyes, allowing the tears of joy to fall. The following day she received a letter from Lysander in which he shared the news that he had composed a special piece of music, one that he had played for her under the moon the previous night. He called it the Moonlit Serenade, and he hoped that it would convey the depth of his love. Moved beyond words, Serafina knew that she could no longer deny her heart's true desire. She made the difficult decision to leave her life behind and return to Marigold Cove, to the arms of the man she had loved since that fateful moonlit night. When Serafina arrived in Marigold Cove, she and Lysander were reunited under the moonlight, their love stronger than ever. The townsfolk, who had witnessed their love story from afar, celebrated their reunion with a grand feast on the cliffs. And so Serafina and Lysander's love story became a legend in Marigold Cove, a testament to the enduring power of love and the beauty of moonlit serenades. They continued to live in the coastal town, where the moon and the sea bore witness to their love story, a love that had been tested by distance and time, but had ultimately triumphed, just like the moon rising over the horizon, night after night, serenading the lovers below with its eternal beauty. The end.